topic for today.
I sent you all the stuff.
I listened to it.
I did too.
Well, there's a bunch. I just sent you one, but there's a bunch of
what I retained and what I can offer to the conversation. I don't know. I think I realized in the moment, history and the science and revelations and
I don't know.
Just wasn't my thing. So I'm down for it. And I listened.
Perhaps we should boom shakalaka this thing before we get going.
I just want to say, that's all I want to say.
I think the boom shakalaka is being delayed because once we do that, we're now forced to have the conversation. I think what she's saying is
now if the three
she's saying she doesn't want to.
No.
If
the three of you guys can have the conversation, I am fine. I may get
the three of us can't. The three of us can't.
Why can't you?
Because I'm in the same boat as you.
I have one thought. And that's it.
Now, the environmental scientists up there.
I just got one thought. And it doesn't even have to do with science.
We may be able to rock with it. But, yeah, I need some extensive research on that one, like, to sit down and unpack that. Interesting, though. It was very interesting. Listen, it really was. I just don't know if I can give you an hour worth of content.
I'm not a theory guy. I'm not one of these, but just with the war plus that just feels weird. But my father had some interesting opinions on it.
I'm down with it. I just wanted to let y'all know beforehand that I made you sit here and look cute.
And you do look cute with your shirt.
I'm about this for Christmas.
I don't know if I look cute, but I will be sitting here with you, Kelly.
I think Rudy always got something to say. He always good at jumping in. Janessa is the honor roll intellectualist and scientist, Bible reading.
Well, guess we'll find out what happens then, won't we?
All right, we're gonna hear from Tara's dad.
Alrighty, well.
You want to get his dad?
You know what?
Oh,
y'all.
All right, boom shaka.
All right.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones Podcast. This is the podcast for preachers' kids who come and be the absolute worst. The four of us here are all preachers' kids. My name is Rudy Wilson. We got Kellie Leasy, Terry Weezy, and Jay Rihanna all in the building. Terry, let's start with you since you are dealing with the worst of this cold weather that the country is seeing right now. Because, here in Florida, we're complaining, but it's because we have 35-degree weather in Central Florida, which is pretty much a blizzard for us. So how are you in your 8 inches of snow?
Well, it's not a competition, but it was -5 degrees here last night.
There you go.
No, not there you go. That's when it gets so cold that it just hurts being outside. It's just stinging. It just stings you. You gotta go outside, turn on the car, let the car run for 10 minutes before you go anywhere, so that it's nice and warm when you get in there. And it's hard to drive just because, if you don't know what you're doing, like if you don't pull your windshield wipers up when the snow starts, then they just get frozen in the windshield and you can't use those, So just remember, if you ever, if snow's coming, make sure you go out there and pull your windshield wipers up.
Yeah. I dealt with that a little bit, not to cut you off. I dealt with that when I was in the Army in D.C. because we had a blizzard there while I was there. Maybe it was like 2016, 17. We had 33 inches of snow. And that was my first time dealing with that much snow. But it was a whole.
It complicates things. It complicates everything you want to do.
For sure.
I want to see that much snow. I have not seen something like that, and I want to see it. I like the weather.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I used to have a place in Boston, and the snow drifts would get like 5 or 6 feet tall.
I want to see that.
You don't. You don't. It's not fun. It's fun for a visit. You don't want to live
Right.
there.
I was about to say not to live in. Like if you were like in Colorado in the mountains and it snowed and somebody else was having to deal with all the whatever and all you had to do was just kind of be there, maybe ski in it, then it ain't that bad. But to try to live in it and you got to get a different type of cooling and different type of tires and different type of it's a whole situation. You know.
I said I want to see it. I didn't say I want to live it.
And we had another thing. My nephew, he's 11, my youngest nephew. He had to be taken to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Oh no.
Yeah. Because a normal blood sugar range is about 100. Most of us would test and we come about 100. Anything over 180 is considered an issue. So when he went to the pediatrician because, he's just feeling lethargic and run down and this and that. And, change a lot of weird changes. They took his blood sugar and it was 629.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is bananas. Yeah, luckily I had that EMT training because as soon as they said that, I was like, what? Because that's crazy. Turns out he has type 1 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. So we went to kind of training. They kind of teach you how to, deal with things and how to monitor stuff. And so me and my wife went with because sometimes we watch them, so we have to know. To be honest, a lot of it was just redoing the stuff that I did when in my 20s with that whole EMT thing, but it was good information to have. He's a total trooper, doesn't care about any of it. The only thing he hates is he's a huge snacker and can't be snacking now. Right. I felt so bad. I went over there to watch the Dolphins Kansas City game with them and brought over some chips and some queso and stuff like that. But he'd already had dinner and already taken his insulin, so he doesn't get to. So I got to sit there and he's like, he just bummed out that he can't snack with everybody else. But other than that, no, he's a trooper about it. He really doesn't care. Doesn't care about the injections or the
How old is
pricks. 11. Yeah. But
how old is he?
Oh, he's 11.
Kellie.
The sound went out.
It's fine. He's 11, but he's smart. He takes after his uncle, so he totally gets it. He totally understands it. He's
Does he have another uncle besides you, or does he have another?
No, he doesn't. Just this one. Which is it's weird because it's rare. To have two, because we have cross pollination apparently. Because my half brother Hunter has diabetes insipidus, is what it's called, which is like a pituitary disorder. So it was right around that same age. He was right around like 9 or 10 when he had to go to the hospital, and because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. Because diabetes insipidus is like pretty rare, even when it comes to that kind of thing. But I've seen stuff like on TikTok and all that about people who have it. It's wildly overblown. He has to take a hormone every day. That's it. And then with my nephew Kyler, who just got his diagnosis, he's got to take insulin every day. So he's got to take insulin, 2 different kinds, once in the evening, which is like a 24-hour time release insulin, and then once before every meal. But other than that, I just kept telling him, I'm like, look, this is just something that makes you a little more interesting, just makes you a little more interesting. That's it. You got something to talk about. I said people will try to make you feel bad about it. I said don't. They're just jealous because they don't have everybody looking after them like that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, well,
Gotcha. No doubt.
Well, it's not easy 45 minutes back and forth to the hospital in the snow. So luckily, all that stuff happened beforehand. That all happened last week before the snow hit. So luckily, that was very fortunate on our part.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because if all that would have come down on like Monday, I don't know what would have happened. Mm-hmm. The roads weren't even drivable, So.
Well, thank God good.
Praise for that. Yeah.
All right. Miss Kels, 51.
That's me. Celebrating 116 years of sisterhood and service on Monday.
There you go.
But I'm doing well.
116 years since when?
My sorority.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
He gave my line number, and so that made me think about my sorority. But doing well overall. I think you guys remember last year I did the prayer line for my dad's church. So we're back at January again. I'm back doing the prayer line. I didn't really want to. My daddy highly encouraged me to. But I'm glad I did. So the first night, so I'm at 3 a.m. again, Sunday mornings. For some reason, my dad can, of course, see how many people are on the call. It was 9 people on the call. I said, what are 9 people doing up at 3 a.m.? Where are y'all coming from? And why are y'all here? Last year on the first night, I think it was just me, my dad, and my Sunday prayer leader. I said, now where these, and the 3 of us were still on, but I'm like, where these other 6 people come from?
Right.
But I didn't know. So they used to have, last year they had like chimes. So when you logged in, you could hear a chime every time somebody got in, and then they will say, there are 7 people on the call. There are 8 people on the call. So they took that out. So I don't know, which is kind of better. Because I come in, I know my dad was on. And so I was just thinking that it was just me and my dad. And so at the end, when I called my dad back at 3:15 in the morning, like, hey, how'd I do? He was like, it was 9 people on the call, but you did really well. So that's good. That's probably the most exciting piece of my life now. So like I said, so I'm glad I did it. I have to get up at 2:30 in the morning on Sundays to prepare myself for the 3 o'clock prayer, and it's only 7 minutes. But it's good. But I mean, like I said, I didn't want to do it. If my dad would not have directly asked me to, I would not have.
Right.
But I'm glad I did.
There'd have been 8 people on the call.
But I'm glad I did. So that's probably the most exciting part of.
Where's your 7 minutes? Is it at 3 a.m. or is it?
Yep, it's at 3. So from 3 to 3:07 is my 7 minutes. Yep. And so what they're doing is 21 days of prayer and fasting. And so we're doing a progressive fast for 21 days. It started Monday, and then they're doing a 21 days every hour on the hour. There is prayer at the top of the hour. So 24 hours a day, there is prayer. And so, which is why I chose the time that I would assume no one would be on. Didn't work out that well for me. But what I do like about it is that I find myself, so my dad is a prayer. That's what he does. But I find myself praying more. And going to God in prayer more, because now I have to pray. So there's like a target. So my target for last week was surrender. And so I have to find a scripture that goes along with it. And then that's my prayer target. And so I kind of prep and plan, throughout the week for it. And like I said, I just find myself, just like I said, just connected to God more, just kind of praying more, just kind of out loud praying more. Sometimes it's just in my thoughts, but kind of just out loud saying prayer more. So I like I said, I'm glad my father highly encouraged me to do it. because I do see the spiritual growth in it. I saw it last year too.
Mhm.
And even one of my friends mentioned it, like later on in the year, like, man, like you being on a prayer line at the top of the year has really stretched you in some other ways spiritually. So it's going well. It's going well, but that's tales of a preacher's kid.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. All right. Jeriana.
I'm all right. Very cold here in Atlanta. I think we had a -5 wind chill this morning. So just cold, just taking a lot of time to myself. I've been doing a lot of resting. So I'm not too much to complain about. Just really prioritizing myself in 2024. I do a lot for a lot of people. And I really don't know how to take a step back and rest and relax. So I am definitely doing that this year. That's
Gotcha.
it.
Good for you.
You got any more employees at the job? Yeah, or
You still doing jobs?
No more new employees. I'm on the interview panel though for the month. So
Okay.
gotcha.
that'll be interesting.
Gotcha. That's what's up. All right. I ain't got shit going on. Same old. You know what I'm saying? So we can go ahead and get into this good old topic of what I call don't go chasing dried up rivers.
You come up with some topics now. You come up with can I tell you that what was it? Pastor William Surfy.
Yeah.
Like even seeing that go like scroll down the screen, the whole thing had me dying. Like you can come up with some topics now. That's the comedian in you. Like quick too. Like quick, we'll talk about something. You come and that's a gift. Thank you, Lord, for that
I
gift.
couldn't come up with it.
Praise God.
That's a ministry, honey. That's your sermon topics.
Right. No, for sure. So Terry Wayne, I guess we'll let you introduce to the audience as far as what exactly this is all about, and I guess what direction we're going when it comes down to the Euphrates River drying up, and then even tying it to the scripture and Revelations where I guess
there's two. It's not just the Euphrates. It's the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers are both drying up, which is mentioned in Revelations as part of the bowls of judgment. So, like, the more famous one is everybody knows about the 7 seals, yes?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also to be followed by the 7 bowls of judgment. But that is one of those. And it also describes that particular area as a land of idols, and now they're finding these giant, statues of idols under the river that were presently unknown. And not to mention Israel is at war right now. So there are a lot of theories online about all these things stacking up. So I thought we could discuss it. I'm the only one that thought that, apparently, because nobody else wants to. So this one's all on me. So if you don't like this episode, it's because of me.
And I don't know if it's that we don't want to. I think it's I guess I'm just not sure what to discuss about it. Like, am I just kind of stating that, okay, this is a sign that we're in the end times? Because like you've mentioned before, Terry, I've been hearing that my whole life, my 34 years of living. I've been hearing we in the end times, like for different reasons, especially which all of us did, but especially anybody who lived through Y2K. Like, that was definitely supposed to be the end. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, and I honestly had never came across the scripture in reference to like the Euphrates drying up, and I guess that meaning like demons were supposed to come from underneath, like you were kind of explaining to us last week, like pre-show. So I guess like I never really had like a specific thought about it, but something else you've also mentioned before, Terry, I think, as you were saying, maybe you had a relative or somebody that you knew in one way or another that was kind of saying that they knew the time, the end time or whatever. And I think maybe your dad or somebody kind of corrected them.
Oh, no. This was a dude this was a guy who literally bought billboards telling people this is the end.
For sure.
Like he did math out of the Bible, and he used that math, and he said,
right.
this wasn't anybody I knew.
Right, gotcha.
But every time when he was wrong, obviously, he would just say, oh, the math was off, and he would change the math. And he said, oh, I figured it out now. Now it's this date. And he kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess my thoughts on just say even the end times in general, because none of us know. I mean, the scripture even states that
no man shall know the date.
Only God knows. Like, apparently not even Jesus as the Son knows. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus said, like only the Father knows type thing. So even with that being said, I guess it's kind of one of them situations like, and this isn't to disregard this topic by any means, but I guess I just don't really think about the end times that much because there's no way to really prepare for it outside of always being prepared type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like living right, following the commandments, loving people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because it's not, and I mean, and even if we're not even talking about just say living to see the rapture or whatever, I mean, none of us know when we're gonna die. You know what I'm saying? Like I've literally had over the last 2-3 years, including over even the last month, like I've had friends who passed away in their 30s, like out of nowhere. Not no car accident, not no stray bullet, not no stabbing, not no sitting in the hospital for months sick, like just drop dead. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I said they in their 30s. And so
aneurysms?
Nah.
No.
Like I mean, just different. Some people just collapsed at home. By the time they made it to the hospital, dead. Somebody else had a seizure, died. Somebody, I mean, this has happened like back to back, and it's crazy because a lot of us like know each other. A lot of us went to college together, and so for me, I've just kind of I don't know. I don't really anticipate the end when it comes down to whether it's the rapture or whether it's dying in general, because like I don't really think there's any way to prepare for it. Like it just happens. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like like when a baby is or somebody's being born, you can kind of anticipate like at the end of these 9 months or whatever like that. Like when it comes down to the end of life, one way or another, it just happens. So I'm saying all that to say like I've never really just thought about the end times. Like I just know that whenever it happens, it's going to happen. So it is very interesting though, and I'll say this and I'll let somebody else talk, but it is very interesting that it is drying up. Even if it had nothing to do with the Bible, just even the fact that this big ass river is drying up is, like
two rivers.
Well, yeah, sure. Two, right. You're correct. I guess I'm just still thinking about the Euphrates, but just that they're drying up, and even that is just interesting all in itself. Like, I'm not deep into science or whatever like that, but it's like what's making that even happen? Like, is that a result of people drawing from it too much over the years? Is this a plague? Is this you know what I'm saying? Like, why would a river,
climate change?
Yeah, like why would a river dry up? You know what I'm saying? That's, to me, that's interesting all in itself. And if for whatever reason this river dries up and demons pop out and the rapture happens and I'm still here, I'll be pretty disappointed. I'm screwed. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully I've been caught up.
Nah.
I don't want to be here to see it happen either way. Not because of just it being scary, but that means I ain't make it. And I'm gonna be a little heartbroken.
Well, it's only 7 years. It's only 7 years for the times of tribulation. So, it's not that bad. You'll be fine. 7 years, you can do 7 years.
Not if I go to hell. That's gonna be eternity. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, don't go to hell then.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like if I'm here to see the rapture is what I'm saying. If I'm here to see like the end times and I'm going through it as opposed to, and not the signs that's leading up to it. I'm saying like I like all the saints get into heaven and I'm just here. I don't want to be here. Is what I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, maybe you need to refresh on your revelations a little bit, because you do get a chance at redemption even if you're here past the second coming. You will get the choice. Yeah,
I want to be first ballot Hall of Fame. I want to
be. Oh, you think now you're going Mormonism, where like there's levels to heaven? Like
no,
gets a better heaven than you get.
I'm just talking shit, but I'm saying I don't. Yeah, I don't want.
No. You the people who are left behind will still have a chance of redemption. So, yeah. But I mean, you say you don't think about the end times, and you don't think about death. I think about it constantly. Because it's the biggest thing that's ever going to happen to you. It's the biggest thing that'll ever happen in your life is when you die, which is a thought, not the best thought in the world, but nobody ever talks about it, which drives me crazy. It's like, because it's scary. It's a scary thought. But I can't help be interested in it. But no, I talked to my father about this. But it's weird because with him, he's one of the people, like, I remember being a teenager and him saying, like, I think maybe we're living in the end times. Kind of like you said earlier, Rudy, like you've been hearing that your whole life. I've definitely been hearing that my whole life. In which case I always went to the most logical answer, which is, every generation has said that. Every generation has said we're living in the end times. And I think it's more of an ego thing. Because like you said, you don't want to be around for the end times. You don't want to be around for Armageddon. There's a lot of people that do want to be around for that. And not only do they want to be around, but they can't imagine it happening without them. Right. And it's almost like, and when I say ego, it's like, it's almost so difficult for some people to imagine that the world will continue without them. So they just imagine, like, as they get older, they're like, yep, the whole world's going to end because I'm going to end. And obviously I can't end and the world continue. Right. And that's that part of the ego thing that always kind of made sense to me, because some people just look at the world and they're like, well, the world can't exist if I'm not here. Like they don't think about it in that way, but it's subconsciously. Yeah. It's kind of like, how can there be earth and population and people going about their daily business and I just don't exist? That doesn't make sense to them.
Right.
So that's interesting. I never really thought about it that way. Even when you said the ego-driven part, I was like, what does he mean by that? I never thought about it like that. Like Rudy, I don't really think about death or the end of times. Not that I'm gonna live forever, but I got a lot of time left.
Maybe. Maybe.
I got a lot of time left.
Look. Hey.
And I hope, right, that I am not here and I've never even imagined or even thought about that I would be here when that time came. This never really even crossed my mind. Like, that's something that happens far down the road, just like Jesus walking the earth happened far down, the opposite way. Like, that's not in my lifetime. Again, this is just my thoughts. Like, it's just not in my lifetime. I know that I will pass away at some point, but I'm 36. It's not going to be for another 50, 60 years. Is the way my brain operates. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to. I I don't.
Mm-mm.
So when you say you think about it every day,
All the time.
I
All the
don't.
time.
And I think we had a conversation. This is going to take us off topic for a second, but y'all just the next person just brings it back. I think we even had a topic about like our parents, and I was saying that like I don't even want to think about my parents, you know, passing away and when that time comes. And so I definitely don't think about myself in the end times, in the end of the world, and you know, in my little bubble, in my little naive little mind, the world just kind of goes on forever, even when I'm not. It just goes on forever, you know. So yeah, that's just a thought that I just don't really have. And I don't want to.
Well, you're lucky. You're lucky that no, it's I wrote in my first book, the one I didn't publish, but I always said that, you know, ignorance is bliss and the opposite is also true, which I totally believe. Meaning, like, Kelly, you say you don't think about that stuff. Well, it's not like I sit around and choose to. It just, you know, it comes to mind. And that's what it is. Knowledge is torture, which is it kind of goes back to my theory that like that's why God didn't want us to eat from the tree of knowledge, because he was trying to help us. Like he was trying to protect us and said, no, you don't want this, you know, you don't want this information. But then we did it, and now, you know, we got to suffer with it. All because of a woman. But
pause.
I'm
I
kidding.
saw that coming.
Pause.
Oh, come on.
Pause. Run that back.
No, but there is. I read a lot just about this, and some people are making like really extreme cases for this. Like there's a passage in Revelations about how the Antichrist will rise to power, but then he'll die, but then he'll come back, and they related that to Trump, and they're like, see, Trump was, you know, the Antichrist, and then he got voted out, but then he'll be back, and you know, they say that the armies of the East, meaning the Orient, which most theologians say is China, is going to try and attack Israel. But again, I don't know. This is all very speculative, all very, you know, conspiracy theory type people putting all this out there. But again, the Euphrates River and the Tigris River drying up, it's kind of hard to ignore that particular aspect of it. I'm just saying, if I see the moon turn as red as sackcloth, or as black as sackcloth, and the sun turn red, I'm going to be upset. Or I'm sorry, it was reversed. The sun will go black and the moon turns red. That's kind of how you know.
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. When you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
So I really don't have too many thoughts on this. I think about death, but in terms of kind of what Rudy was saying, like making sure I'm living every day to the best of my ability. Because even whether you make it to the rapture or not, you don't know when your time is going to come. And like Rudy, I've had several people die within the past year, even people younger than me in their 30s. And so in that regard, I think about death, but I don't really think about the world what's going to happen after I'm gone, because it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not like I can contribute to it or anything like that. So what happens, happens. Now, in terms of the Euphrates, the one thing that I took away, because I decided instead of just reading the one scripture about it, to read the whole chapter. And clearly, the scripture discussing the Euphrates River is the sixth angel, and there's 5 other angels above that have done different things. And I don't know, but it doesn't seem like some of this other stuff has happened. I don't know if the stuff earlier in the chapter needs to happen before the Euphrates dries up. So I really can't say, oh, the Euphrates is drying up. Now we're at the end times, because just looking at what else, the context and what else is happening and what else has to happen, I haven't quite seen that happen yet. So I don't know.
No, that's real, because I was when I was looking at it in verse 12, when it was saying the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great Euphrates River, and the water thereof was dried up. I don't know if y'all have the answer to this, but my thought was the water from the river dried up, or was whatever the angel poured out dried up? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that could be 2 totally different things. That could be, if it's what was poured out and not necessarily the river itself, that could be, something totally different. Once again, I don't know if none of us, have that knowledge. I'm not necessarily asking for an answer, but my mind did kind of go there, in the sense of, as I'm reading it, is it the river itself drying up, or is it whatever was poured out of the vial dried up after it was poured? And which one, I guess, is actually the sign, or did whatever was poured out dry up the river? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't know. I don't know. So I didn't really try to, I guess, use that point, because I didn't necessarily have an answer. But I, even just reading the Bible in general, like I've noticed a lot more things as an adult that I didn't notice as a child. Like even just something, speaking of water, even just something as simple as, many times I've heard the Genesis chapter 1 and the creation of earth. How out of all the things that God just spoke into existence, like water was one thing that was always here. Like it never was a let there be water. Like it was, the earth was void and without form, and and God was among the face of the waters. Like it was like the waters was always here. So to me, that was interesting, as far as He created light and all this other stuff, but water was just always here. And like, why is that? Once again, I don't have the answer, but every time I've heard, the story of it or even read it, I missed that part until I got older. So I look for those different specifics. God, I guess, reveal it to me, when He decides to. But I'm saying that to your point, Janessa, like, does the fact that the Euphrates is drying up actually mean that this is it? Like, we got another 24 hours and this is it? Or does the other things have to happen first? Is this even exactly how it, was said in the Bible? I don't know. It is very interesting if there is a river drying up in general, especially one that has been around for so long, one that's even connected to that, because that's one of the 4 rivers that was connected to the Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the Euphrates specifically. Like it was one of the ones that was.
Well, yes, most scholars believe that the Garden of Eden. Most theologians believe that the Garden of Eden was set between the Tigris and the Euphrates.
Right. Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was one of the. I mean, it says it in the Bible. So yeah, I mean, so I'm saying, so even just the fact that it's been around, just say day one, and it's now reached the point of drying up. Like I am very interested. Well, let me rephrase that, because very interested means I probably would look it up after this, and I'm not. But it is very intriguing that a river that has been around so long will even reach a point of drying up, and like, why is that? Like, what happens to the marine life that's in it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that play out when a river dries up? Like that's probably more intriguing to me than me looking at this and saying like, oh, well, let me let me pray more because the river drying up. You know what I'm saying? It may be time any second now. Because we don't know. You know, like I said, the best thing you can do is really is to live, especially if you just say a follower of Christ, you know, want to make it to the kingdom, et cetera, et cetera. The best thing you can do is, you know, is live right, get up, you know, pray at 3 a.m. after your daddy asks you to, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Because whether you knew the Euphrates or in the Tigris, you said?
Yes.
That was the other one? Yeah. Whether you knew those two rivers were drying up or not, or paying attention to the signs or not, whenever that time does happen, it's gonna be on your ass for you know it. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if this is an actual sign or not, because I'm not that knowledgeable on it, but just on the natural side, it is very interesting to me that it's drying up, like that both of them drying up.
The biggest one that to me, because again, you got a bunch of people, you know, it's the internet, so you're gonna have everybody's theory and everybody. But I would say the biggest scripture that applies, I think, is where it says that, you know, dark will be light, light will be dark, you know, and people will not be able to tell the difference between good and evil. For some, evil will be what they consider to be good, and good will be evil. And when I look at the world's population, not just America, but the world's population, I don't think there's ever been a time in human history when that has been more convoluted between what is good versus what is evil, what's right versus what's wrong, than right now. I think if you were going to make a case for end times, that's the scripture you really need to focus on. Because when you look around and you see, like, you know, I hate to say it, I hate to make it a thing, but when you look at evangelical Christians in America and who they're following, like, it's like, how can you not see wrong when it's 6 inches in front of your face? Yeah. Right. And because I've seen that. I've seen some of the most moral, righteous people I've ever known be completely led astray. So to me, that hits me on a personal level, you know. But again, do I think the Euphrates drying and the Tigris drying up? Like, no, because again, like Rudy said, I go back to the script. No man will know the date. So it's like, I don't care what theory you have, because if it's based biblically, there's that one caveat that says, no, you definitely won't know. So it really doesn't matter what your theory says. I will say that it's very enticing. You know, there are a lot of people with a lot of different, you know, theories and evidence, as they say. But I see how it could easily manipulate a certain group of people that might be vulnerable to that kind of thing. So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, because unfortunately in the internet age, perception is reality. So we're all going to have to deal with it, you know, because if somebody perceives it enough, they might get out of hand, you know. So it's important for everybody at least to be aware of it. Because when you really believe it's the end of the world, you might do some out of pocket stuff. That's all I'm saying. You know.
Yeah, and some people will go just say the opposite way of what I've even been saying, as far as like making sure you're living right. They'll be like, "Oh, it's about to be the end of the world. Let me get this sinning in." You know,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I meant by out of pocket stuff. I'm like, some people might get violent. They might, you know, it might be terrorist attacks. Like
that too, but I wasn't even just talking about just on the violent side, but just as far as like, just, you know, just let me go ahead and, you know, just like the fornicating or whatever, like the, you know,
Lord knows my heart. I'm gonna still make it to heaven.
Right. Right. You know, they may go in on that for sure. And it even makes me think about, don't know. I know Janessa not gonna see it, but I don't know if Kellie or Terry plan on seeing the Book of Clarence. So I'm not gonna necessarily like.
I'm gonna see it when
it.
it hits streaming. I don't go to the movies for anything.
No, that's fine. That's
a
fine.
ripoff.
The point I'm getting at is I don't want to like give away too much. I don't want to like spoil it or whatever. But
then don't.
But it made me think about
go see it.
Huh? You said what?
Oh, you talking to Rudy? My bad. I thought he was talking to me. Go ahead. My bad.
What?
Oh no, I was saying just as far as what you were addressing about the whole not knowing the difference or whatever like that. To me, I think yes, what you're saying is true in the sense of it's more evident now than probably ever, but I think that's just because of the exposure that the internet gives us. But in reference to it being a thing, I mean, it's definitely been a thing for a while. Like, even just say, biblical days. Like, I mean, there's definitely been people who, just say will confuse people with their actions to make it seem genuine or whatever. But realistically, they're really just say doing something evil. I mean, the fact that the Bible even addresses, wolves in sheep's clothing, you know what I'm saying? Like, makes that evident. But to your point, it is more noticeable now because we just have more access to see it because of cameras and the internet and so on and so forth. Because there's a little bit of that in the Book of Clarence, and I think I can kind of say this without giving away because we kind of see it in the trailer, and I even kind of addressed it like where he even mentions like, I want the type of clout that Jesus has now. So he starts, doing like him and his homeboys start doing a little fake miracles or whatever to try to, get people to believe that he's the Messiah or whatever the case may be. And I'll just leave it at that. So like we can talk about it more after Kellie and them see it, but that's a thing. Whether people are doing it, like whether you're rapping about stuff that you ain't really do, you know what I'm saying, for the sake of making money, whether it's even from the pulpit, you know what I'm saying, like you could be doing something that seems positive but really negative. And then there could be people, and I'm not saying this was necessarily positive or negative, but just for the sake of an example, there could be people like Bishop William Surfy, who was, you know what I'm saying, trying to do something positive, but it came off negative. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, people's discernment and stuff like that, or intuition or whatever you want to call it, what has always been and will always be challenged, and I'm not saying you were saying this, Terry, because I know you're agreeing with the point that I'm getting at. It just ultimately just leads to like, we just ultimately don't know. Like, I think, matching the signs to the Bible may be good in the sense of just say the Bible's notoriety and understanding that, okay, what the Bible said is true and stuff like that. But realistically, like we just have no way of knowing. And that's why, and this is my third time saying it, so I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse, but that's why to me, it's more scientifically interesting that these rivers are drying up versus just say biblically interesting. Because
well, you're right about the scientific part. That's why all these archaeologists and all these scientists are now studying. They're on site studying all these new things that these cave structures built into the riverbanks and all these monuments that were hidden by the water for all this time. So yeah, there definitely is a scientific interest, a huge interest in what's happening there. But again, it's, the internet is the tree of knowledge
right.
in our day and age.
No, for sure.
And there's good knowledge and there's bad knowledge.
I've even heard, which I don't necessarily believe, but I've even heard like people have told me like that the Red Sea, maybe we talked about it on here, was dried up, which is why Moses and them was able to cross it versus God actually, splitting that joker open and allowing them to, cross through. Like people have literally told I ain't gonna say we've had that argument because I don't be arguing with people like that, but they've definitely been like, yo, no, there's just they God ain't do that. Like it's a part of the Red Sea that the water is low, it's dried up, and they crossed that part, which is why they,
Well, how do you explain him closing it back up again? just at the right moment.
Apparently the way they feel that little dry spot's still there. You know what I'm saying? That
Again,
shallow
but it
spot,
says he closed it back over the Army's beach.
That's what I'm saying. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Nonsense.
That's what I'm saying. I'm with you. But
imagine if they had the internet back then. It'd be chaos.
But even with stuff like that, like it's so. That's why it's so important to study, know, and believe what it is that you truly believe, because there are so many opinions, there's so many theories, there's so many, and people can. I mean, I've had people send me videos of just I don't know if the person was really a pastor or not, but they like, yeah, this is a pastor in the video, and the pastor is speaking against like things that the Bible say, and saying the entire Bible is just a not a metaphor. What
parable,
right? You know what I'm saying? The entire Bible is a parable, and none of this stuff really happened, and yada, and I'm glad that my relationship with God is where it is, and He's already proven Himself to me to be real, where I don't necessarily have to waver, because people can challenge what you believe in a very convincing way, like Cat Williams style convincing. You know what I'm saying? Like make you believe like everything that's coming out of his mouth is true. And if you don't know what you know, you could be messed up by it.
Well, another quote from that first book was, "It's fun. I find it funny that in our age, in our modern age, if you believe in God, people look at you like you're a good person. If you believe in the Bible, people look at you like you're a good person. You go to church on Sundays, you get your family, you pray before dinner, and they look at you like you're a good person when you believe in the Bible. But if you really, really believe in the Bible, then they call you a crazy person."
Right.
If you just believe in it and you leave it right there, but if you really believe in it, like I'm giving away all my possessions to the poor.
If you're a hero and do
like if you really actually do it, people are like, "Oh, he's crazy. This is a crazy guy."
No, that's real.
It's like, well, what is the difference? One of them you believe it, and the other one you really believe it.
But that's why the Bible does say you got to be a hearer and doer, of the word, because hearing it and just reading it ain't enough. Actually,
there's a lot more hearers than there are doers.
Oh, for sure, 1,000.
Because, and I know this because there was a woman, I won't give her last name, but a woman named Ellie that went to our church when I was a kid, and she used to walk up and down Federal Highway, which I'm sure Rudy knows, in Florida. There's a big highway, spans almost the entire state, and she used to walk up and down that street carrying a cross on, like literally dragging a cross up and down Federal Highway on the sidewalk almost weekly. And you know what everybody in the church said? "Oh, she's crazy. She's crazy." And it's like, well, do you believe this or do you not? Yeah. And they were like, well, yeah, we believe it, but we're not going to get bananas about it. Yeah. To me, that always was like well, which one is it? Is she the best of us or just the nut? Like, I don't know. There's something to it. I don't know. I don't pretend to have the answers. I just have the questions. Somebody else will have the answers.
I got you. Jerry Runner, you got your jewels?
I do not have a jewel for this week.
You don't have a snow jewel?
Kellie gonna whoop your ass.
You had a jewel in your opening statement. You had a jewel about taking care of yourself.
Well, there we go.
Run that back for us. Run it back.
Run it back.
Run it back.
We need a snow jewel
about what you're doing in 2024 and taking care of yourself, because we've also heard the journey of work struggles and those things. So run back to taking care of yourselves as a jewel. Go ahead. You know, don't play about them jewels. Go ahead.
Full screen this
my
joint. There it
gosh.
is.
Mr. Kelly. Oh my gosh. I hate this so much. I guess the jewel for the week, y'all, is take care of yourself. Use that.
Give us some
PTO.
suggestions. Go ahead. How you doing?
I was gonna say use your PTO, use your EAP if you have it. Get in some therapy. They're free group therapy sessions. There's a lot of resources in this world of technology and information. So I just encourage everybody to do what they need to do. Incorporate self-care and try to find things that you enjoy that you can do on a daily or weekly basis. I will share, and y'all probably gonna laugh at me, but I don't care. I plan on going to Fernbanks Planetarium this weekend to watch
Yeah, this sound right up here.
a show. They have a show on black holes, like in space.
Oh, I thought you said sperm bank. Never mind.
No, not
I was like, what's going on?
Fernbank in the planetarium. It's like a big dome theater type of thing. They have different shows, but I like that type of stuff. So I'm going to go see the one about black holes on Friday, maybe. I've seen the one on auroras. You know, they have one on constellations. Like, just do what makes you happy. So that's it.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I like planetariums. They're great. You smoke a joint, go in there. It's awesome.
Okay.
Fernbank definitely was a lit little field trip.
Absolutely.
I swear I thought she said sperm bank. I'm like, are you?
I'm glad to hear Fernbank's still around. I ain't heard that name in so long. That's what's up.
They actually have adult nights. I went to a 90s one and they were playing like Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
They sell liquor on adult night?
Yeah, they have drinks. They have you can go through all the exhibits. Actually, the one time I did go, they had like a light exhibit, and me and my friends did a little Triller music video to Missy Elliott's I Can't Stand the Rain. I'm sure we weren't supposed to be all up in the exhibit like that, but we used it. But yeah, it's the whole thing's open and you just float around and do whatever. So yeah.
And when you said auroras, you mean like the aurora borealis, or I've seen that in reality.
I want to see it. My sister and her husband and my niece, they just went to Iceland for her 10th birthday and they saw it in real life.
I'm pretty cynical, but that was pretty awesome, to be honest with you. They weren't even supposed to be around. It was like September. It was way too early, but it was September in Alaska. And
that's something else I want to see.
It just showed up. Well, if you go to Alaska in like, I don't know, November, it's going to be really cold, but you'll see it for sure.
Well, until I can get to Alaska, I watch it at Fernbanks Planetarium. Y'all can watch it too.
If this lottery ticket's the winner, I'll put you on a boat.
I seen the cherry blossoms in DC.
That's nice. That's great. I'd love to see that. I've never seen that, but I've seen pictures of it and it looks amazing.
And I love the way they indulge you in that.
I want to see that too.
I really do. I want to see that as well.
No, the cherry blossom in DC is a really big thing. They be having like a whole festival and everything.
You just switch from that conversation to so you just needed to add something.
Well, it's probably because it's like one place, to really see it. Whereas like the aurora borealis is like a whole region. Like you don't gather in one spot to see it. It's just there in the sky.
So
all right.
But Janessa, don't ever, I say this every time, Janessa, don't ever let nobody stop your ministry in these jewels.
I don't always have them.
I think Janessa's stopping Janessa in this.
You started with one. I said she dropping jewels already because we hear the journey every week. So that was a good one.
Girl, y'all, I be struggling sometimes.
Hey, listen, if I got to come up with the words for white, if I got to come up with the words for white people every week, then.
I thought we got that segment.
No, that's the other.
Oh,
podcast. I've been doing words for white people on the other podcast for like 3 years.
Gotcha.
I got to talk to these honkies.
Things are happening in 2024. You know, catch me in about May, June. We may have something different, but today I'm still private at Princess Kellie.
Wait, why is it going to be different now?
Because I may make me a new page, but today we still private.
Yeah, make the Kellie public page.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Go
Y'all
ahead.
can find me at jrihanna__. We have fun over there.
You can check me out on OnlyFans.
There you go.
Like anybody, if anybody would pay for pictures of my feet, I would totally sell them. But they won't. I might have to pimp out the wife's feet. But it's Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms. Oh, why are you looking at me judgmental, Janessa? All right, it's just.
Oh,
feet.
I just said, oh no.
It's just feet. Who cares? She's out here in flip flops, giving it away for free.
To you.
Amazon.com, Unclaimed Ashes is where you can get the book. If you want to, I'd really appreciate the money.
How much money you get?
I get enough.
Oh,
I get more if they bought more.
Excuse me.
I get more money the more they buy, which is why I mention it every week.
Excuse me.
And shout out our producer at Risa_G. Well, this topic worked out better than we thought.
Yeah, it did. Good job,
Yeah.
Terry.
80%, by the way, Kellie. I get 80% of the book.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, this has been phenomenal. We appreciate you guys listening and watching each and every week. Please continue to follow our journey here in season 4. And if you're a preacher's kid, reach out to us. We'll have you on the show. We'll interview you. I'll let it. But until then, we are PK. We're the worst ones. We out.
Top of the world. And top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. And top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. And top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. And top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.